There's moments in life when your faith does not disappear. It just becomes difficult to speak. Not because you've stopped believing, but because something inside of you has shifted and the words that used to come out easily no longer do. About a year and a half ago, I found myself in one of those moments. I had made the decision to leave our church that we've been part of for 19 years. 19 years! I would not call that a casual relationship. It was the only church my kids knew, so I had to guard this transition carefully. It was not a quick decision. It was not even an angry decision. And I wanted to be careful about how I say this. Because the people there were not my enemies. They were my family. They were not just familiar faces. These were relationships built up over years. We had a shared history, a shared life. People who had sat with me in hard moments, celebrated things that mattered, prayed over things I could not carry alone. 19 years is no small thing. And walking away from that, even when I believed I needed to, was one of the most hardest decisions I have ever made. You see, there is a kind of grief that does not have a clean name. It's not the grief of losing someone to death. It's not the grief of a relationship that ended badly. It is the grief of stepping away from something that was genuinely good because something in you became convinced that you needed to go. And that conviction does not make the leaving any easier. If anything, it makes it harder. Because you cannot be angry. You can't point to something broken and say, that's why I left. You just have to carry it quietly without a clean resolution. I remember sitting in my car after the last Sunday I was there. Not dramatic, not the scene, just sitting, trying to figure out what I was supposed to feel and not finding anything that felt honest enough to say out loud. The weeks after, they were strange. Sunday mornings felt wrong, not in a way I could explain to somebody who's not experienced it, just wrong, like a habit your body has not caught up to yet. And somewhere in that strangeness, I found I could not pray. Not because I didn't want to, not because I didn't believe God was there, but because I did not have the words that felt honest enough to say. There is a kind of silence that is not peaceful. It is disorienting. You are not rejecting God, you just don't know how to speak to Him. And in that space, I kept returning to the Psalms, not as a study, not as a checklist, but as a place to stand where I did not know what to say. Because the Psalms do something that is easily missed if you read them too quickly. They give you words when you don't have your own. They say things to God that feel too raw or too unresolved or too direct to really be coming from you. And yet when you read them, you recognize it immediately. That's exactly what this feels like. How long, O Lord? Why have you hidden your face? Restore unto me the joy of your salvation. The Psalms don't rush past these moments. They do not clean them up. They do not move you towards something more presentable. They give you permission to be where you actually are and to speak to God from that place. And more than that, they keep you speaking. Because the danger in seasons like the one that I just talked about is not that you'll say the wrong thing to God, it's that you'll stop speaking to Him at all. The Psalms, they won't let you do that. They hold you in the conversation. They keep bringing you back, not always to resolution, not always to clarity, but to relationship. And over time, something begins to happen. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly, almost quietly. Your voice starts to return. Not a polished voice, not a performance voice, an honest one. That is why this series exists, not to analyze the Psalms from a distance, but how to live them inside. Over the next several weeks, we're going to walk through 12 Psalms together, not randomly, but intentionally. Psalms that speak from clarity, Psalms that speak from confusion, Psalms that speak from repentance, and Psalms that rise again to trust and praise. Because the Psalms are not a single argument, they're a collection of lived moments, and if you stay with them long enough, you begin to realize they're not just describing someone else's experience, they're preparing you for your own. There was one psalm I kept returning to in that season, not because I chose it carefully, but because it sounded like what I did not know what to say. Psalm 13. If you would, read that with me. Psalm 13. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle in my soul with sorrow in my heart each day? How long will my enemies dominate me? Consider me and respond, O Lord my God. Give light to my eye, lest I step in death. Lest my enemies say, I will overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I have trusted in your loving devotion. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord, for he has been good to me. You see, he doesn't ease into it. He does not qualify it. He does not clean it up before he says, How long, O Lord? 4 times. How long, O Lord, will you forget me? How long, O Lord, will you hide your face? How long will sorrow stay in my heart? How long will my enemies triumph over me? That's not some distant theology. That's someone speaking from the middle of something unresolved. And if you've ever been there, you recognize it immediately. Because there are moments where that question is not, what do I believe? That question is, how long is this going to last? And what is striking is that the psalm does not correct the question. It does not say, you should not feel that way. It does not rush to this resolution. It just lets the question stand. That alone is significant. Because most of us have learned, in one way or another, to edit ourselves before we speak to God. We soften what we say. We round off the edges. We try to move too quickly to something that sounds more like faith. This psalm, it does not do that. It tells the truth first. And then I noticed something shifts. Not the circumstances. Nothing in the psalm tells us anything has changed externally. But in the verse 3, the direction turns. Look on me and answered, oh my God. That is not polished prayer. That's a direct one. See me, answer me, don't leave me here. And then at the very end, something happens that almost feels abrupt if you read it too quickly. But I will trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. If you're honest, you might read that and think, how did he get there? Because it does not feel like a smooth transition. It feels like a decision, not a denial of what came before, a refusal to let it be the final word. The Psalms are not showing you people who never struggle. They're showing you people who kept speaking to God in the middle of it, and over time, they find their way back to trust. Not because everything's resolved, not because God has not changed. This is what I found myself doing in that season. Not arriving at clarity all at once, not the sudden feeling that's been settled, but coming back again and again to words like these until they eventually became my own. So, wherever you find yourself right now, whether your faith feels steady or uncertain, quiet or difficult, this is a place you can turn to, a place where you don't have to pretend, a place where you can learn again how to speak to God. And we're going to start here. and walk through this together. And if you would below, tell me what psalm is your favorite and why that's Psalm 23.